We are here today to talk about the fear of emasculation in a heterosexual relationship. This is important because men are so damaged by the morals that they were taught as young boys that these morals are the downfall to their relationships with a woman. Anything a woman does besides being submissive and a yes man can make a man feel emasculine. For instance, a man can ask a woman, can she do something? Like, could she cook? And the woman to be tired from work and she can say, I don't feel like it. He'll feel as if the woman is testing his masculinity just by saying no. And feeling emasculine is something that a man doesn't want to feel. But men need to learn emasculation doesn't make them less of a man. It actually strengthens their relationship with a woman. Women are tired of being the yes man. We are tired of being submissive. So once men learn that our feelings matter too, then everything will be better. Throughout this presentation, I will be covering several objectives. Each of these objectives plays a role in why men fear emasculation. The first objective will be talking about traditional roles of a man in a heterosexual relationship. These roles will help understand why men feel obligated to do certain things like paying the bills or protecting the woman. These roles mean a lot to a man and his masculinity, and once they are interrupted by a woman, the man will feel less of himself. The next objective is important to know how men inherit these roles, because this can be the solution to the problem. You can't fix a problem without knowing how it started. As a woman in a relationship with a man, knowing where his train of thought originated can help him overcome. Also, knowing where these roles came from will help connect this problem to history. The next objective is harmful ideas of a man's sexuality. This is a subtopic that came from the Male Heterosexual book by Larry A. Morris. This was important to incorporate because it talks about situations that a man think is strengthening his masculinity, but it's toxic to a relationship and society as well. The next objective is men versus commitment. This gives insight on what men juggle between when he decides to be in a relationship. Trying to keep a good reputation on your manhood is hard when deciding to be with a lady. And lastly, all the objectives will be summed up, and by the end, others will understand why emasculation is a problem in a relationship and also where it comes from. A man has multiple roles to portray. However, each role contains the ideology of being seen as that dominant figure. Now, there are many more roles than these three that I have that a man plays. But the first is being manly, the second is showing leadership, and the third is making decisions. Now, what does it mean to be manly? To be manly, a man must know how to control his emotions. Dealing with emotions includes avoiding tantrums and tears. Every man fears crying in public because that's just not what men do. A man deals with pain and danger without showing fear or emotion. And as a man, the ideal duty is to protect and provide for the woman. Next is showing leadership. Showing leadership, in other words, is considered a man taking charge. For example, handling a situation when he sees something is wrong instead of waiting for the situation to escalate. Letting the woman come in contact with the problem can result to emasculation because the man will feel that he wasn't bold enough to step up to the plate. The third role is making decisions. Most women disagree with having a controlling man. I know I do. However, the man making the decision shows that he understands his significant other, so he picks the decision that is right for the both of them. That is because it is not fun when a man leaves everything up to the woman. Everyone needs a second opinion. Besides, leaving everything up to the woman makes a man feel as if he have no control in the relationship, and no man wants to feel as if they have no control. In fact, that is by far the worst thing that you can do to a man in his masculinity. Next, we'll be finding out how men inherit these roles. Dr. Michael Kimmel from the Emasculation said the three worst words you can say to a boy are, be a man. And that is because once you tell a boy to be a man, you are telling them that what they are doing isn't manly enough and that they need to try harder or they need to prove themselves to you. And telling the boy that can create constant violence because he is out in the world trying to prove to everyone else, including you, that he is a man. The masculine explains how all boys at a young age are taught don't tell, don't cry, womanize, and use violence. Three lies boys are taught to believe they must have to be a man is strengthen skills, which includes any sports like basketball or football, have money and power because you won't want a woman to have more money than you or demand more power than you, and also to have a strong sexual quest, which is you attract many women and you have many women to brag on to say that you have. In his book of Man Studies, The Code of a Man, Waller R. Newell explains the path to manhood is a lifelong moral intellectual training. Whether a man's father is in his life or not, these morals are pushed on young boys and follows them as they get older. Larry A. Morris explains in The Male Heterosexual, as a mentor, adult males must show younger males how to assume a responsible role in sexual matters. Now, this is important because, as you can see, as a male figure in society, you are to teach other young boys the roles to becoming a man. Now that we've got the basic stuff out the way, the next thing we are going to talk about is harmful ideas of male sexualities. Let's get into the three P's: paternity, phobia, and promiscuity. These three things can possibly determine a man's masculinity or emasculation. Now, I got these ideas from Larry A. Morris's book, The Male Heterosexual. He talks about many more, but I thought that these three were three that were worth talking about. The first P is paternity. One way a man shows his masculinity to the world is by becoming a father. However, becoming a father has nothing on having several children by different mothers. Morris explains producing children is a badge to manhood. If a man fails at having children while in a relationship, he will feel that he has to prove he can produce one way or another to his peers. The next P, you know the one every masculine man fears. The fear of being seen as a homosexual makes men extremely aggressive to things they think emasculate them. In the Male Heterosexual book, men believe real men don't have sex with men. So they have a phobia of being categorized as being anything other than masculine, which creates unnecessary behavior. Although being in a relationship with a woman should prove your masculinity enough, it don't. That is because you can be in a relationship with a woman but still like other men, which is why men have so much to prove towards not being homo. The last P, promiscuity. Promiscuity is when a man has sex with more people than normal. Men with the most sexual quests are looked at as models. So men sometimes step out of relationships to prove to others that he can get action because this makes men feel dominant. Man who is afraid to cheat is considered pussy whipped, and being called that belittles a man's masculinity. These three things are important when talking about fear of emasculation in a relationship because these things are toxic and a man trying to prove these things right or wrong can create many damages. Like for instance, a man might not try to have a child to prove his masculinity, but everyone knows the thing a masculine man will do to show that he's not homo, and that is by far the most aggressive thing he can do. The most juiciest part, manhood versus commitment. Commitment. George Weinberg admits in Why Men Won't Commit that commitment means to men surrendering hard won masculine freedoms. Men feel that when they are committed to a woman, the relationship belittles their masculinity. Since men are not allowed to show how they feel, their gut feelings gets the best of them because explaining how they feel is considered feminine. It damages the relationships because the man will be on the verge of leaving the woman he is with because his feelings in the inside eats him alive, and the woman is unaware to understand what he is feeling, which leaves her helpless to the situation. Let's talk about a man's gut feeling. It's hard for a man to feel like he's being understood because they barely understand themselves, as described in Weinberg's novel. Weinberg describes how the smallest situation can bother a man's gut feeling. For instance, a bad dream about a man's significant other divorcing him or messing with his friend could drive a man away, and the woman will never know why. That is because he'll never tell her. And sooner the relationship will be over, all because he thought he did what is considered being strong. A man's pride is the reason he fears emasculation. Sometimes a man might want to try being emasculine to his woman, but because that is not what men take pride in doing, they don't give it a try. Newell admits men are more likely to commit suicide. Men with too much pride to share their feelings and emotions are most likely to have social problems. How his friends see commitment. A man who shows his love for a woman heavily is more likely to be made fun of by his peers. This is why most men are afraid to show their lady off or do affectionate things. In The Male Heterosexual, Morris explains, man who is afraid to cheat is pussy whipped. To avoid being seen in such a way, men do those toxic things like be aggressive, hang out with the guys more than the lady, and maybe even cheat to prove that he's not controlled by his woman or pussy whipped. Let's talk about a few things that makes a man feel emasculine and why he'll be ready to leave his lover. The first one is belittling everything he does. Now, talking about everything that a man does as if it irritates you can make him feel as if he's not good enough for you or he's not the one that you want. But you will never know because he will not tell you how he feels about the situation. However, women shouldn't belittle everything a man does, but sometimes it's not intentional. It's just we might say the same stuff over and over again because he never listens. Next is talking about his salary. Every man hates a woman who gets paid more than him, although ideally men gets paid more than women, but there are some women who gets more money than men and they hate that. Next, managing his every move. Now, you might hate how he does things, but ladies, let a man be a man. Let him do the things that he wants to do. Stop trying to control his life because it just makes him feel as if he's not doing anything right. Arguing in public. We all might have did it, but when you think about it, it's not good for both women and a man. And female voice has a very high pitch and it seems to get way more louder. So when you're arguing in public, you have to think about how you are looking and how your man is looking. And most of the time, the woman is looking as an aggressor and then the man is looking like he is just the kid. And that bothers a man's feelings, even though he acts as if he doesn't have any. Men think that they know everything. So once a woman proves him wrong, he feels as if she's done something wrong, when in reality, he should have never underestimated her. But proving a man wrong challenges his thoughts and knowledge, and that can create emasculation. The last one is insecurities. A man could be insecure about his body, or maybe so insecure that anything the woman does, he thinks that she is out cheating. So, women, just like men give us comments all the time, make sure you comment your man so that he could feel good for him about himself and inside his own body. And make sure that you let him know he has nothing to worry about when you are out, because these can drive a man insane. Now that you see what man fears while being committed in a heterosexual relationship and what makes him feel as if he is being emasculine, you know what and what not to do. But if man learn to use masculinity only to protect and be open with his lover, he'll be at peace with himself and have a healthy life. Man who cares how others view him will always have something to prove, and they'll never be free from feeling overwhelmed. Renee Wade argues, woman's feminine energy fuels a man's masculine energy. If you are both in a bad state, remember that you can break a man's state and get you both into a more resourceful and loving place. Because everyone needs a little dab of feminine, just a little sprinkle. Nothing is fun with all masculinity, and that is what man needs to learn. As long as we can continue in society and teach young kids how not to follow these traditional roles, more future relationships will be fine and healthy and lovable.